Hi, I'm August Keller, and this is my review of F1 the movie. So, F1 the movie delivers strong spectacle with weak storytelling. While individual sequences have tension, its broader script is very formulaic and predictable. The plot has a lot of typical sports movie tropes, maybe all of them, but it counters that with informed sports strategies. I always like that in sports movies when they actually get into the strategy of the sport. The drama introduces a lot of canned character tropes, a lot of cliches. You know, the underdog, the hothead, the rogue. You know, it's all been done. And the vulnerability I found very cursory. You know, it's there and they touch on it, but they don't really explore it. The relationships are decent. You know, there's good. I would say the growth is earned, even if they're not, the most compelling. There's motivation. A lot of characters are at least motivated. You know why they're doing what they're doing, even if it's not the most complex or conflicted. And the arcs, I don't know. I can't really say whether or not I feel like there's really a strong protagonist arc. Some of the side characters arc. The protagonist, he has like an external arc, but his internal arc, I'm not really sure if there's much there. So I would call it vague at best. Luckily, there's solid setup payoff. You know, they do a lot of callbacks. And the dialogue can be very quippy. You know, I laughed out loud more than once. But I do feel like the dialogue is also pretty blunt at times and exposition heavy. They're constantly talking about what's happening, what has happened, things like that. And I know that that could be considered earned, but it's still there, in my opinion. But this is all buoyed by the acting. Brad Pitt is very effortless in his charm. Watching him on the big screen just reminds me, wow, this guy is actually like a genuine movie star, and he feels like one. And there's good chemistry too. It's all very believable. So all this is to say that F1 the movie, it has a very average narrative, but I think that at least allows for its other strengths to succeed. It doesn't get in the way, even if it's very average. It's technically, F1 the movie is more impressive. It's pretty impressive. The direction can feel glossy. You know, it doesn't dig deep into the drama enough, and it's all very kind of classical. But the atmosphere is immersive, and the tone is got a classic blockbuster sports movie tone. The cinematography is marked by very intimate mounts, like while they're driving. You really feel like you're in there, and the lighting's very sleek. The editing, I found a little overlong. The structure, the movie has a long runtime, and it can feel repetitive at times. I think there's some time they could have cut out of the runtime, but it's very engrossing and engaged. There's a lot of energy, a lot of set pieces that are very balanced. Nothing ever feels like it's dragging too long. Nothing in particular. And they got these nice little montages that all feel very varied. They have like little techniques they're using. The sound design is great. I think it's about as good as sound design gets. It's very meticulously leveled, where there's like smash cuts and bursts of action, and it's very subjective. So it doesn't sound noisy, but it also sounds it's loud without being noisy, if that makes sense. So the soundscape is very robust, I would say. The music, it really blends this like old school framework with modern polish. That's kind of what this movie's trying to do, and the music really kind of does that well. I think it has like these old school rock needle drops, but also like this synth scoring, and that sounds like it might not work, but they make it work, and that really kind of brings this union together. The production design is very tangible and authentic. You're there. And the casting, Brad Pitt is the perfect fit. I don't know if this movie would work with almost anyone else. Brad Pitt is like meta, because he's this aging star himself, and that's who he's playing, and he really owns the role. Even if there's not a whole lot to the role, he makes the most out of it. And there's good supporters around him, Bardem, Condon, and that young man whose name I don't know, Idris, I think his last name is. He was a good fit too. And of course, the stunts are very extreme. There's a lot of like driving. It's all very tangible, and that really kind of drives the experience too. So yeah, overall, F1 the movie is a well-made blockbuster. It doesn't have any obvious flaws. The writing is not good, I would say, but it's also not outright bad either. It's just very average, and everything else about the movie is well done. So yeah, it's a good movie, and if this is your kind of thing, then I would say check it out. I don't think it's necessarily a must see, but I enjoyed it, and there are definitely worse movies out there. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. If you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to like and subscribe. I also have an Instagram linked in the description. I'd love support there too. But at the very least, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.